Az from Yorkshire Peaches Therapies, and welcome back to another episode of Hop, Skip and a Jump. Today's episode, we are continuing our conversation with the amazing Chloe from CMP Therapies. Now, in this episode, it's a little bit different to our usual content. It's a little bit more business focused. We talk about experiences that we've had through previous jobs and how it impacts our work today. And we also look a little bit more at what is career coaching and what that can look like if you were to book in with Chloe. So I'm going to stop talking. Let's jump into it.
You know, I have gone back to uni since, but to do something completely different.
Something completely different, but something that is very valuable to this industry. So tell me about your masters. Tell me what you did in your masters.
So I studied career development. So I went back to uni and I did it through my day job. Because as much as I love my therapy, as everybody can notice from this conversation, and you'll know, Yaz, because I'm a chatterbox, and I found
makes my life a lot easier.
I found being a self-employed equine therapist really tough mentally, and I think it's because I'd gone into it really early on in my career, where I was 19, just turning 20, going around being self-employed, and at that time you're figuring yourself out and you really want to be in a team, and I just found being self-employed really tough, and I had had a couple of really difficult conversations at some racing yards, and where they'd sort of turn up to do the day, and then they'd say, right, you've got these horses to do, we're off on the gallops for the morning, no one's going to be here, but you'll be fine, and these horses are going blooming mental in their stables, and I'm like, I'm not getting in with that. And then I just sort of felt like I wasn't doing it. But anyway, I went into a completely different sector, into education, mainly because I wanted to go traveling, it was very bizarre. But I ended up in education because a friend of mine suggested I should, working with children with additional needs. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was exactly what I needed at that time. And I've continued down that pathway, really. And then I was faced with either, do I get qualified as a teacher or do I do something different? And when I stepped back, I really loved talking to people about their jobs and what they did for work and their reasons for working and why they wanted to do what they did, and really sort of getting into people's understanding people's mindsets around that. So I chose to qualify in career development, which allowed me to become a careers coach, careers advisor. So I do speak to young people in schools for an organisation. I work for a wonderful organisation at the moment, and my role is head of careers there. But so I oversee the programs in like 13 schools. So wow. Yeah, it's a great role. I love what I do. But and then I do my therapy after schools and around the weekends and things. And then I also do a little bit of adult career coaching on the side. So
so this is something
I'm really trying to push forward a little bit now.
And I think it's something that's needed, because I remember when I first qualified, we did a module on business, but nothing quite prepares you for business than being self-employed, being on your own, having bills to pay, and going, right, I have to hustle and I have to navigate my way in this world. I think sometimes what I see with therapists, I can't remember if we touched on this before, but when I look at like this fantastic therapists in the UK, like we are spoiled.
We're spoiled, aren't we?
In this country, we are absolutely spoiled rotten, because we have an abundance of wonderful therapists. That's equine, canine, feline, whoever, right? What I see is that my biggest thing is that therapists do not know how to market themselves. It is not enough to just put pictures of dogs on your socials. Unfortunately, as much as, believe it or not, if I didn't have a business, I would not have social media. I don't like it, but it's the backbone of my business is my social media. And I always say to people, it's the perfect balance of silliness and seriousness. That's my branding, and my face is my branding. And I think what therapists miss out on is that when someone's going onto your website, They don't want to look at pictures of dogs. They don't want to look at pictures of horses. They want to see you with a dog, you with a horse. They want to see you. And I know people may be listening now and going, oh my God, that's my idea of absolute hell. You don't even have to look at the camera. Look at the animal that you're working with.
Absolutely.
It could be just do what you do. And I know that I remember doing my first Instagram live, and I thought my ass was going to fall out, for want of a better word. And now I'm just like, and I'll be doing.
You just pop it on doing the washing, don't you? Sometimes I sit there when I'm doing some paperwork, and Yaz is on live, and I'm just there. I'm like, I need you to co-work with me for a minute, so I'm just gonna.
I love co-working. But it's just giving people that confidence to just be yourself. When you put your energy out, it'll draw energy back in, you know.
And that's what sells it. Like, people are, you know, in this world now of social media and businesses and people pushing themselves out there, what actually drives sales and things on the internet isn't by doing a polished advert. It's people seeing someone who they resonate with, that they can connect with, and hearing about their experiences. And that's why UGC is so popular now, and those kind of types of content in terms of marketing and selling. Sorry, the dog's barking downstairs. Like those kind of types of content is gonna sell it more. And I've said it to you before, and I said it in part one when we did our other podcast, is that's why your branding works so well, because people see your videos and they just connect with you, and that's what it's so yeah. I mean at the moment my socials for the careers coaching page is not there, so it's not.
You've got a totally horse. You've got a lot going on.
It was all going to play, and then my horse got really poorly, and now I have to spend like 3, sometimes 4 hours a day dealing with him. So it's all a bit much, but yeah, I really just want to support and help people with their careers, and I think having working with people who are self-employed will be really helpful for them, just to have somebody to be their ear and to be a bit of a challenge, and to be able to help them. Sounding board, recognize your strengths, and really see
find the holes. I think sometimes when you are self-employed and running your own business, it can be really difficult to take a step back and go, right, where are the holes? Where am I missing a trick here? And you need an outside eye. You need an outside eye to come and have a conversation with you. And also, for me, this is something I talk about a lot. Imposter syndrome is huge in this industry. I get terrible imposter syndrome, absolutely terrible, and people are like, what? And I'm like, no, I'm being serious. I'm my own biggest critique, but I have to check myself. I have to go, no, you've worked really hard for this. You know what you're talking about. And you have to kind of remind yourself. And I think sometimes that imposter syndrome, or the fear of looking daft, or fear of looking silly, or anything like that, is a little bit of a negative undertone in the therapy world. There's a lot of things like hierarchy regarding qualifications and things like that. Like, we all have something to bring to the plate.
Absolutely.
Every single one of us.
And it's about recognizing that. And I think actually, you know, I'm registered with the CDI, the Career Development Institute, and I did my qualification through university, and I got my QCD, and being able to speak to somebody who's had a level of training and coaching qualifications in order to be able to have those really vulnerable conversations is really powerful. And like, you know,
it is vulnerable. My business is my firstborn. And
I ended up having a conversation recently with somebody, and she won't mind me talking about it because she is going to do a testimonial for my Instagram. But you know, I've actually known her for a few years, and she was just a bit kind of stuck, and we ended up talking. And as we were talking, you know, she thought she wanted to go down one route. And actually it became very apparent that I just asked her a couple of questions, because I thought, I'm not sure if she's in it 100%. So, you know, what she was saying was, I'm in it 100%, but everything else wasn't. So I just checked her with it, and we do questions and things like that. And now it's really amazing, because she decided that she was going to go off and do equine dentistry, and she's going to be an equine dentist, and that's the plan for her. and she's off on her first training course soon, and so it's really nice to be able to have those moments with people where, you know, you get those little win moments, and that it came out really super organically, like just through have it like, and it's somebody I've known for a long time, but you know, and I know her, but also having that space to just have that open conversation in that way. And from your perspective as a client, being able to take time to sit and talk about it, because most of the time, as a, you know, you'll understand it as a business owner, especially self-employed people, you feel like you have to work all the time, but ultimately you need to have these conversations with people, and have somebody there to support the growth and development of your business, whether that's but you are the business. Like, people sometimes forget that when you're a self-employed person, you are the business. So
you are the
entity, you need to be in that space as well, and you need to be able to see the wood from the trees and have those conversations, and just have those, they're just amazing conversations. And I love talking to children as well. The adult conversations are a whole other ball game, because you can really ask vulnerable questions about like you know, you can really get into people's sort of, really challenge them on their priorities and wanting, because they feel, a lot of people think they have these priorities and these are the reasons I work and this is what I do, and then actually when you unpick it all, they've got completely different priorities, but they haven't really realized it, or they haven't allowed themselves to understand their priorities for working. So yeah, I'm an absolute,
I think that's really important, to be able to recognize why you do what you do. And I think it's really important to check that your passion is still there you know, I think
your business as you naturally change, because, you know, no career is ever going to stay the same for the rest of your life. I started out wanting to solely be an equine therapist. I ended up as a teaching assistant and unqualified teacher, and now I'm a careers advisor, and that's where I am. But, you know, careers change over time, and it's part of life, and it's all about being able to tailor what you're doing to how you are and what you're doing at the moment. So yeah, I'm really excited to develop that side of what I'm doing, and, you know, be able to have those adult conversations, because I think also that's going to really support me with my work with the younger people as well. And to have those conversations with the younger people, because although a lot of my conversations with those guys is, how do you feel about this, and how does your mum might feel about that, or, you know, because, you know, sometimes the young people want to do something but their family want them to do something completely different, and that's a conversation. Or you know, whereas I think it's just so interesting to have those deeper conversations.
I remember what did you want to be when you grew up? When you grow up?
Oh gosh,
what did you want to be when you were a kid?
Do you know what? I always think, I actually always think, if I actually check myself, I think I always wanted to be a teacher. And I think, and it's because I think it's because my mum was a teacher. And I would find, and I've still got it now, mum, if she's listening, she'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I used to pretend to be teachers, and I'd use the back of my wardrobe door as a whiteboard and stuff, and I'd do all these silly little things. But then over time, and as I got a bit older, all I wanted to do was work with horses. That's all I wanted to do. So I think younger me really wanted to be a teacher, which is interesting, because it's one of those hero jobs, very classic job that children want to do, because it's what they know, it's what they see. But then all I wanted to do was work with horses, and I didn't want to do. I knew I didn't want to be a groom or somebody who works on the yard and does the mucking out every day. I knew I didn't want to do that, because I had done that and I was tired and bored of that. But I never wanted to be a careers advisor.
But look how you've managed to combine sort of the two, this passion for horses and this passion for
100%. But then also, what a great, and I was saying this to someone at work the other day, or everything I've done in the therapy world and everything that's led me to that moment has connected me into this world, because I've got this whole story that I can share with people. I never, like, you know, your jobs will change throughout your life, and one of the biggest pieces of advice I give to young people is just do something you enjoy. Just do something you enjoy in that moment, whether that's working at your local Tesco's, or whether that's doing an internship or an apprenticeship to become a lawyer, or whatever you want to do. you do something that you enjoy, because you're going to earn skills and you're going to have a good time that's going to help you and shape you in the future for future roles. And I can tell that story with my own career, which I think is really nice.
Absolutely.
But everything comes together, and I still do the therapy stuff, but just not as much.
I always think, well, I'm a big believer in the universe has always got a plan.
Yeah.
Always got a plan. If one door's shut, there's going to be opportunity elsewhere for you to go look at. I know that when I was a kid, I really wanted to be a farmer. I wanted to be a sheep farmer. I don't know if you can hear Peggy.
Sheep farmer specifically.
Specifically a sheep farmer. I wanted to be a sheep farmer or a nurse in the army. Can you imagine? Can you imagine me in the army?
Do you know anybody in either of those roles?
My mum's best friend was a farmer, sheep farmer, and she had 2 Labradors, and she was a sheep farmer, and she was a strong, independent woman, and I was like, I want to be like her.
I was going to say.
And I wanted the Aga. Absolutely. I absolutely adored. I wanted the dogs. I wanted to be with animals. And then when it came to college, I really wanted to go study something equine, actually, at college. And my mum said, there's no money in animals. Ha! Preview, right, mum? So I ended up, I kind of got nudged into, I remember having a conversations with a career officer. Oh, my God, what was he called?
Oh, this is the other historic careers officers.
Oh, so they were called career officers, weren't they?
Careers advisors. You probably heard of Connections, and Connections was actually quite good in what they did. But yeah, so some careers advisors, like all I hear of careers advisors is from people who are older than me, my mum's sort of age. Oh, they told me to do this, and it's obviously not what I wanted to do. That's all I hear.
I remember it was my form tutor at college, and we had this appointment for career advising stuff. And he was like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I think, well, I've been 17. And I said, I just want to work in a bar in Spain and go and live with my family. And he went, anything else? And I was like, nope, I just want to do that. And he was like, well, maybe you could look at going to university. I was like, no, I'm not interested. And then I got my first boyfriend, and then actually ended up going to university, do my degree. I lived in York for 4 years. My degree is in performance practice, so contemporary theatre, and I did half of my masters. And then I met Adam, and then so like it all. Obviously not at the same time as my ex-boyfriend. Sorry, this is an overshare. Split up with him and met Adam.
Crucial part of the story there, yeah.
Crucial part of the story. For anyone who's interested in my therapeutic journey, I did not cheat. So met Adam. Yeah. Then I was working with an organisation called MenCap. So I was working with non-verbal autistic children. I was working with
great organisation.
Yeah, absolutely. Working with adults with learning difficulties, some that were in like supported housing. So like it was a beautiful big bungalow, and there was 3 ladies that lived there, and they were pretty much independent, and it was just so they had someone, we'd go out and
friend, really, isn't it? Kind of like
absolutely, just a bit of company, and just keep an eye on things, but they were super self-sufficient. They were just absolutely gorgeous.
I love that industry,
and that industry taught me a lot. My degree taught me a lot. And then it was when I worked in card fraud in a bank for 3 years. Wow. And, good money, good pension, and, good holidays, all of that. But I was so unhappy.
Because you wanted the farm. You wanted to be independent, like your
I don't do well in an environment like a bank. I didn't do well. I was very, like I talk about my mental health, I was very, very poorly, and I left. And I remember Adam sitting and saying to me, he was like, what makes you happy? And I went, my dogs. So I left the bank to be a dog walker. I just knew I had to be with my dogs. Yeah. And I didn't really know what I was doing. And I remember everyone, saying like, oh God, yes, you've got a lot of balls leaving this job to go be a dog walker. I went, yeah. I was like, but it just feels like the right thing. And I learned a lot of stuff. And then it was when I lost Snoopy and Penny within like I think it was within like 3 or 4 months of each other, that I was like, this dog walking's not for me. I'm not engaging my brain. I can't keep doing these walks without Snoopy and Penny. Like, it was just a big part of my grief was completely remodeling the business. I was like, I have to put my head into something else. And then it's just taken me on this huge trajectory to where I am now. And again, the universe always has a plan. There's some hard lessons that have been learned, mistakes been made, and wins had, highs, lows, the whole lot, because it is such a turbulent journey running your business.
And you're so lucky you had Adam to help you with that decision.
Absolutely.
That's what some of
never tell him though. Never tell him.
Yeah, don't listen to him. We're not gonna. Yeah. No, that's a lot of what I enjoy to do when I have the conversations I have is helping people with supporting them with those decisions and sort of going through all those eventualities in that safe space away from your family. Because sometimes, obviously, you know, you're very lucky that you had Adam, but Adam could have really he could have, yeah, exactly. And also you've got all those adult things that you're thinking of at the time, haven't you? Like, you know, you've got your mortgage and how do you afford your rent, and you know, your life's set up on that salary, and how can you then change everything else and go on to that one, and that's what's really nice about the conversations is helping someone through that. And I get the joy from those conversations, and that's what especially when there's a resolution, and for sometimes, you know, you're having those conversations and it can take a few sessions to really get through it. But yeah, it's really key. But a good thing of what I've learned from that and connecting it to therapy is knowing when to refer back to somebody else, and when I'm working with a client, actually, you know, could really benefit. I think this is borderline, because it's very close to therapy. What we do is very, very, it's like, you know, the lines are quite close together and sometimes can be very blurred, and you've got to be really careful to not cross those lines. But you know, if it is getting like that, you know, knowing when to refer on, and obviously in our roles we know when to refer on to other therapists, other physical therapists in the sector.
Other skill sets. Absolutely.
Exactly. And you can have a different conversation with even a counselor, or, you know, everybody's, you know, life coaches and all these different professionals you can get out there all have different perspectives. But, you know, speaking to somebody who's qualified with career development, you know, specifically in that area, you can have a really great conversation with someone about it. And, you know, can do one-off sessions. So I do one-offs, you know, where I speak to somebody, you know, maybe 1 hour, an hour and a half or something, just one off. Or I speak to people, you know, more regularly, where we have more regular catch-ups, where I see them sort of, you know, once a quarter or maybe once every 2 months or something like that. Or I do some workshops that we do, like 6-week kind of workshops, and do those group wise. But
would you say that your coaching is for people that have just started out, or people that feel stuck, or people that are wanting to refresh the business? Is there something that you can, you know,
I mean, and like I said, I've not really developed that side of the business like fully yet, in terms of it being, so I'm seeing people for lots of different reasons. So some people it definitely is, and I'd say a lot of people it's because they're stuck or they're wanting to change careers. I think that's a big one, where they're like, you know, how exactly how you felt when you had that conversation with Adam. I'm doing this, it's not working, I'm getting no joy from it, I hate it, I don't want to go. And then they're really stuck and they don't know how to move forward. So that's one conversation. But also people who are very, very early on in their career, who
I don't think there's enough support for these new baby physios that are coming out. Baby physios that are coming out of uni. I remember when I left uni, and I thought that I knew it all, and I was a proper grown up now, and I wasn't. I was still a baby. It's still, like you say, you're still learning about yourself. So just having that support of someone who has a lived experience of working in this therapeutic industry as well, I think is really important.
100%. And I think definitely having those conversations. And I'm not I've not got too many people in that situation that I see at the moment, but I can definitely support with people who need to have that sounding board. And even if it's just meeting them every couple of months and just checking in, and how are you getting on, and how's this, and what's your thoughts, and have you thought about this, and
being held accountable as well, because
because when you're your own boss, who's if you don't do it, what's going to happen? And yes, okay, you have some angry clients if you don't turn up for the day, and I'm sure it's not those things that slip, but it's all the paperwork, isn't it? What happens when it comes around to tax return time and what's going to
Yeah.
happen there, but also about development in your own career. Okay, what next? What's next? What's next for
And
it?
as
You've
well,
done
like,
this, you've done that. What we going to look at next?
for me, I'm constantly wanting to grow, constantly wanting to move. I'm wanting to develop new ideas, new income revenue, and all bits and pieces. I have like all 20,000 plates that I'm spinning at once. But for some people, they don't want to grow, and that's okay. And I think it's okay to kind of like identify that and go, I don't want to grow. I'm quite happy as I am, but I'd love a little bit more work-life balance.
Yeah, exactly that. And that's something else I support with as well, is helping people with how do they navigate the you know, working and setting those boundaries for themselves and knowing when to say no and things like that as well. So yeah, I mean, at the moment I wouldn't necessarily say I have a specific specialism in that world, and I'm sure that as I will progress in that space as well, my obviously at the moment I very much work with career changers, adult career changers, and then in my day job it's children with SEND, ADHD, ASD needs, and supporting them to help making their decisions and recognizing their own strengths and things like that. So definitely would say I'm more sort of SEND specialist, but definitely wanting to sort of move into the adult space a bit more, and opening up that for myself as well. So yeah, if anybody is interested in that, just send me a message and see how I can help you. And
so how can they find you? So if somebody, if a therapist listening and they want to find you and they go, you're the gal for me, how do they find you? What's your website? What's your socials?
So the website is in production at the moment, so it's not there yet, but I am on social media. So I've got an Instagram. Again, remember what I said a minute ago, that my Instagram is not perfect, because
perfect.
I started it and it got ill. But yeah, so it's Chloe May Career Coaching _ in for the career coaching stuff. If there are any equine listeners or people with horses in the southeast and they want therapy as well, I do massage therapy, and sort of various other things in my toolkit in that sense as well, and I'm based in the southeast, so I can do that. And yeah, that's and I'm CMP Therapies
CMP
on
Therapies.
Instagram and Facebook. I don't have a Facebook page for the career coaching stuff, but if you send me an email, I'll be able to just get back to you and see you on the career coaching. It's like
there you go. Well,
yeah, I'll text you my email and you can pop it below.
Yes, I'll make sure to put all of the details in the Spotify bio and also on YouTube. Chloe, thank you so much again for your time. I absolutely love our conversations. You always bring something random ones, but I love it. I love it. We just kind of go with the flow, and that's the whole point of this podcast. Is just I like chatting with people about what they're passionate about and linking it to pain, dogs, therapy in whatever way possible. I hope you enjoyed that session with Clobo. I could listen to her talk forever. We have been friends for a long, long time through our mutual work and love for Fatizo. It was really interesting to kind of gain an insight into where Chloe comes from with the career aspect things. I remember when I first qualified, I just felt so like I could do a massage, but I really didn't get, I feel, enough exposure to what it's like to run a business, and I had to draw on my previous business to do that. So if you are a therapist and if you are listening and you think actually maybe I could do with a one-off session or a few sessions with Chloe just to kind of lay some ideas out, have that sounding board, then please make sure you do get in touch. If you have liked this episode, put my teeth in. If you have liked this episode, please make sure to like, share and subscribe. And lots of love to you new dogs. Take care for now. Bye.